Hello Exiles, Redlord here. So I'm finally here with an update for my Bonestorm Essence Drain Palm of the Dreamer on a Deadeye. And yeah, I must say, one of the best, if not the best build that I've played in PoE2 so far. And that's speaking like, at least in terms of performance. Performance-wise, one of the best, if not the best build that I've played so far in PoE2. Just because how ridiculously strong it is. I'm currently at 11k energy shield. I'm pretty much never dying. I stopped leveling, and even though I stopped leveling, I'm just still gaining XP, still leveling up. Currently level 95. And yeah, just single target. Nothing ever touches you pretty much. Because I usually, with my damage I've got right now, I usually two-shot any boss in the game. Maybe not stuff like Arbiter because he has damage reduction phases and all of that. But yeah, if we're talking about super, like, fully juiced map bosses, 2 Bonestorms, 10 million HP, pretty much like 5 million average hit per Bonestorm. And that's like, you cast one Bonestorm, you pre-channel it before the boss actually spawns. As soon as it spawns, release the Bonestorm, boom, 5 million HP. And the boss is heavy stunned. Pretty much every boss in the game immediately heavy stunned. And before the boss wakes up from the stun, it's dead because you've cast another Bonestorm. And just if you, I don't know, low roll on damage or something, or the boss is ridiculously tanky and you don't one-shot it in 1 or 2 Bonestorms, the Bonestorm with all the damage scaling, with all the fizz damage that it does, it applies Impale, and the Bonestorm has built-in 200% more Impale magnitude, and actually the Impales from the Bonestorm itself, nothing to be underestimated, because if I really want to, I can pretty much just do one Bonestorm and kill pretty much all endgame bosses in just that one Bonestorm, because I've got the Companion and I've got the Remnant Swarm that are actually attacking and consuming those Impales, and those Impales are doing ridiculous damage, pretty much. Like, every consumed Impale, from what I've seen on bosses, pretty much does around like 200k, 300k damage each hit. And yeah, that's kind of crazy to think about, just because it's essentially a byproduct. I'm not trying to scale into Impale whatsoever. I'm just scaling raw damage on Bonestorm, and as a byproduct, you get this Impale. So even if you're in a sticky situation where you maybe need to dodge or something, if you've just cast the Bonestorm, your pets, since they're unkillable, they're just attacking and they're still doing the Impale Bonestorm damage, and then yeah, you link them with killing strength, and I mean, pretty much everything dies. It's actually ridiculous. And yeah, I can definitely see Bonestorm being on my list for maybe the next league if Druid doesn't come out. Maybe I'll even do Bonestorm League Starter, because yeah, just from what I've seen, the Bonestorm is ridiculous skill. It was extremely strong during the campaign when I was leveling this character up. It was extremely strong, pretty much one-shotting or two-shotting every boss. And yeah, really doesn't need much scaling. I was playing until level like 90 or something. I was playing with Life Sprig, that all it was giving me was +3. And I was playing with Focus, that was giving me like 40 increased spell damage and +1 level, and that's all I needed. Then just 6-link Bonestorm and bam, I was feeling pretty fine on single target. Now it's just completely ridiculous. Like, yeah, as I said, around 5 million damage per Bonestorm if you don't actually count the Impale. If you would count the Impale, it's more like 10 million damage per Bonestorm, let's say. Yeah, and that's just, I mean, ridiculous. And yeah, other than that, the clear of the character, as I was saying in the previous video, by the way, if you didn't see the previous video on this build, link is gonna be in the description. I highly encourage you to check that video. And yeah, there I explain some of the details. But yeah, the clearing situation I've got going on here. Basically on this build, even for me, this feels kind of unfair because pretty much how I fixed the clear was just slap currency onto the build. And yeah, I know it might sound weird that why would it be unfair, but to me it feels slightly unfair to like different players that maybe don't have as much currency, right, to buy Palm of the Dreamer. I bought mine for 70 divines, of 75 divines, something like that. For me, not that big of a deal. For, I would say at this point of the league, for most of you, if you're still playing, not that big of a deal. But some of the players don't have this amount of currency. And yeah, why do I feel a little bit sad about this, let's say, is actually because Palm of the Dreamer feels so goddamn good. Of course, that's partially why it has such a high price. But it's one of the, if not the first thing in the game that was actually doing real nice, real effective, and real cool stuff in terms of clearing for me, and doesn't entirely destroy all my frames. Sorry. So yeah, now before Palm of the Dreamer, I was trying out to play with, as I said in the last video, I was trying out to play with just ED Contagion, and yeah, that works perfectly fine. ED Contagion, super good, super satisfying, really nice clear. And if you don't have the money, you can just play ED Contagion for clearing, but with not that many changes. But the thing is, ED Contagion also soaks up your frames. At least for my computer, ED Contagion is bad too. But Palm of the Dreamer, from, let's just compare Breach scenario with ED Contagion, Essence Drain Contagion that is. With that, I was playing around under 20 frames or around 20 frames in Breaches. And with Palm of the Dreamer Explosions, it's actually around 40-35 frames in Breaches. And yeah, for me that's a big deal because, yeah, the more frames I get, the more I actually see what's happening. Even though at this point of the build, it's kind of unnecessary to see what's happening because pretty much nothing ever touches me. And yeah, it feels good. It feels good, but the Palm of the Dreamer, get it if you can. It feels super good. It really feels super good and is good for your frames and is gonna be enjoyable for clearing, that's for sure. And yeah, other than that, I, thanks to the Palm of the Dreamer, I figured out what to do with Spirit, and I actually did a Blasphemy setup with temp chains with that, and that basically, that setup helps me a lot during sticky situations like breaches and all of that stuff where monsters are really close to you. That means that all those monsters, like in breaches, are gonna be pretty much permanently and almost immediately slowed by temp chains, and for normal monsters it's like 50% slow. And believe me, that's a big deal. That's a big deal, especially when you're playing a build that is just pure energy shield, no evasion, no life, just pure energy shield as the only defense. As I said, currently I'm at 11,000 energy shield, and I pretty much don't even get hit that much all that often. Like, yeah, I pretty much don't get even hit, and if I get hit, it's like, I don't know, quarter of my energy shield, 15% of my energy shield usually. And yeah, so pretty much the only scenario where I feel sometimes like I'm about to die is just some extremely ridiculous maps that where you have, I don't know, let's say like a triple damage as or double damage as extra element and minus maximum resists or monsters penetrate plus the damage as extra element. In these maps, yeah, sure, you're gonna take a hit, maybe sometimes die, but I mean, that's why I play softcore. So yeah, I would say enough gameplay, enough talking, and let's jump into the changes. Alright, so for the changes, I will start off with the items, and yeah, that's pretty much everything's different from the last time, except my weapons, and yeah, pretty much the Palm of the Dreamer and the Headhunter. Other than that, pretty much everything's different. And yeah, so for weapons and stuff like that, check the last video. But yeah, in terms of other gear, pretty much upgraded everything two really better versions of what I already had. So currently helmet with just a bunch of energy shield, resists, rarity and crit chance. And by the way, on this build I'm currently at 124 item rarity. From the testing that other people have done, it seems to be that the ideal spot is like 150 rarity, and like above 150 it starts to fall off, like the effect of rarity starts to fall off dramatically. But yeah, so I guess get as close to 150 as you can. At least 100 or something around 100 has the most effect, so I guess do that, but don't take my word for granted. I didn't do the testing myself. That's just what I heard from other sources, other content creators on YouTube. But yeah, pretty much resists, energy shield and crit on gear pieces. On my body armor, I specifically have the Sacramental Robe because of the faster energy shield recharge rate implicit, and I of course am getting it even on the suffix here. Other than that, it's just energy shield and resists. Same goes for gloves, just crit damage bonus because you can get it on gloves, right? And other than that, energy shield and resists. Ideally, I am going to remove this desecrated suffix and then add hybrid energy shield to the mix instead of the physical damage to attacks that doesn't have an effect. But yeah, that's the gloves, pretty simple. Headhunter, same as the last time, I believe. And yeah, boots, as much movement speed as you can get, as you feel comfortable with, and then resists. I got some energy shield recharge rate. Honestly, it might not even be necessary. I went for the increased or faster energy shield recharge rate because I thought I'm gonna be losing energy shield quite a lot, but in the end I'm not really, because everything's dead before it is able to hit me, and everything that is tanky enough for me actually to cast the Bonestorm on. That means that if I cast the Bonestorm, then the monster is dead immediately or heavy stunned, so there's not really much danger going on. But yeah, just if you're curious, I've currently got 1.5 energy shield recharge rate delay on weapons at 1, and here it's a bit faster because of this soul core in my shield, or in my focus, sorry. But yeah, doesn't really matter that much. If you've got Convalescence, especially with second wind support, you've got 2 stacks of Convalescence and you just pop it and you begin recharging energy shield immediately until you reach full. And yeah, maybe you can forgo going for all the energy shield faster, but yeah, it is just nice to have, I would say. Not very needed at the moment for me. Then a ring, and yeah, just for some comfiness during actual mapping, I got mana on my ring, and that's the only source of mana that I've got in the build. So I've got tier 1 mana here, and reflecting it with Calendra's Touch, so I've essentially got this ring twice, and it's just simple, I would say. I've got strength, I've got cast speed, I've got rarity, and I've got the desecrated prefix for spell damage on full energy shield, and I've got pretty much just 2 of these rings. And the interesting thing here is, why the hell do I need strength if I don't use any strength support and all of that? Why do I need strength, and why do I want as much strength as I can get? It's because of this thing right here. For every 2 flat strength, I'm getting 1% increased energy shield. So for 228 strength, I'm getting 114 increased energy shield. And just to show you what it currently does to my build, if I remove this, I go from 11k ES to 9k ES. So yeah, for 3 points, I'm essentially getting 2k ES or 2.1k ES, something like that. And that's really good in my opinion. And yeah, so that's pretty much the gear changes. As I said, I would recommend to watch the last video that's going to be in the description. Now for the skill tree changes, I shall start with the Ascendancy. And yeah, as I was showing last time, first 2 points actually were point blank and endless munitions, because endless munitions giving me extra projectile, and that means I'm channeling my full Bonestorm much faster. It doesn't take any time at all, as you can see. And then I, in the end, decided to go for Gathering Winds and Windward, just because I'm actually clicking and casting quite a lot during mapping, and my Tailwind stacks are up pretty much all the time. And even though I don't have use at all for the increased evasion from Tailwind, it's still good because it's giving me skill speed, and it's giving me increased movement speed, 10% increased movement speed and 30% skill speed, which also is cast speed, and that means it makes mapping quite a bit comfier and nicer. And as I said, I'm pretty much almost never getting hit, and yeah, so that means I even get the effect of Windward when I need it, because just like I said, the only thing that can really hit me during mapping, not normal monsters, not really even ranged monsters, it's just monsters that are tanky enough to just luckily survive Palm of the Dreamer explosion or don't die from one hit from Essence Drain. Something like rares, and for those, Windward is actually pretty damn nice. And yeah, so that's pretty much the Ascendancy that I did. I know I wanted to go for Bullseye and Cold Shots, but after testing them, I was pretty unpleasantly surprised. At least for my build, I don't really think that it does pretty much anything. I would say these Bullseye and Cold Shots for this build is pretty much useless, because the single target's already great, even though I'm not at 100% crit. So the 5 stack of critical weakness on consuming a mark doesn't really matter that much, and the Cold Shots just to automate it. Yeah, the only thing that this would do, it would make my mark automated, and it would give me a bit of single target damage, but I don't really need single target. I have no use for it, so I'd rather take Gathering Winds and Windward for much comfier clearing and even single target, because you can stack your Tailwind even on single target. And yeah, that's because we've got a mana flask, right? So I can consume mana like this and just press mana flask. So yeah, pretty underwhelming Cold Shots and Bullseye in my opinion. So for the skill tree changes that I did, I don't need these reservation notes anymore, and in terms of extra spirit, all I need is Solar Amulet to get the 10 spirit base, and I'm exactly at where I need to be pretty much, because if I turn on my beast like this, I've got 5 spirit left in this weapon set, and that's weapon set for clearing, and weapon set for single target, I've got 3 spirit left, and I've got everything that I need. The Blasphemy setup is reserved only for the clearing anyways. So yeah, let me turn off my beast again. And yeah, other than that, I played around with the weapon sets, and I landed on yeah, pretty much this skill tree. Red lines are weapon set 1 for clearing, and blue lines, green lines, sorry, are for weapon set 2 for single target. And yeah, just in case you want to check the POB, these are also red lines just for clearing purposes. And yeah, so the changes, my initial plan was to go for more damage, like these crit notes right here, which I'm speccing right now. If I get to level 97, I'm gonna get these 2 points most likely. But yeah, the initial plan was to spec more damage with nodes like these, nodes like these, nodes like these, and all of this that is nearby pretty much. But I figured that I don't really need the damage, especially don't need the damage for a single target, so I instead started speccing more into energy shield. So I've got these 2 points right here, this whole cluster right here. In the end, I decided to take even these points, even though they have slower start of energy shield recharge. But as I said, I don't really need that energy shield recharge because I've got convalescence if needed. And yeah, so far this setup feels extremely good, extremely strong, and nice to play with. And yeah, just a reminder, I would say I wouldn't take this node right here, because this would straight up mean you lose 3% maximum energy shield when you use a chaos skill, and if you're clearing with Essence Drain, that would mean every click right here, every cast would be lose 3% energy shield, and that actually stops your energy shield recharge. So this is no bueno, or Event Horizon, sorry. And yeah, I also changed some nodes. around the tree and got 1% recover maximum mana on kill, and that's just on weapon set 1, again for clearing, just for some extra comfiness and nothing else. Alright, and that's pretty much everything in the skill tree. POB, as always, gonna be in the description for you to check. And now let's just quickly cover the jewels again. I don't think I've made any changes, so I've still got the Heroic Tragedy for Verona in this socket. I've got a Megalomaniac with Shrapnel and Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver, really powerful node. This one right here. Since I'm point blank anyways, I want to be at close range with my Bonestorm, and this is just straight up 40% increased crit damage bonus and 25% increased damage for my Bonestorm. Real nice. And Shrapnel is this one for 10% chance to chain off of terrain. Pretty much like 10% more damage node, because yeah, it's putting us from 70% chance to chain off of terrain to 80%. And yeah, still got the controlled metamorphosis in this socket right here to take True Strike for the Jaguar, Conservative Casting for weapon set 1, and Kite Runner and Distracted Target. And the other jewels from nothing with Valpact, so we can take these movement speed nodes right here. And the last jewel is Prism of Leaf for Bonestorm plus 3 levels. Very nice. Alright, and for the gem setup, not really many changes here. Pretty much everything the same. Again, check POB, check the last video. Maybe I changed something in the Essence Drain setup. I'm using Considered Casting, Extraction, Zenith to make the mana a bit more easy, let's say, because now I'm recouping 25% of the mana cost spent on the skill, and that makes it a bit comfier on mana, but you don't need to use this, and yeah, you just can press your mana flask a bit more, or don't click like a maniac. Then still Chain 2 and Silence Temper. For the beast, still the same setup, still using Brutus Brain, and yeah, there's no point of not using Brutus Brain and no point of leveling the beast, because I don't believe that the beast actually scales, or the attack speed of the beast scales with levels. I'm not sure, but I don't really feel like I need it. And yeah, just other than that, pretty much the same setup as in last video, and there's not really point to scale levels on it, because it would increase my dex requirement, and I want to keep dex as low as possible, just so I can get as much strength as possible. Yeah, other than that, everything's still the same. I'm not sure if Voltaic Mark and Enfeeble was in the previous video. I don't think it was, so yeah, I'm currently using Voltaic Mark and just Prolonged Duration. Just something to keep in mind is you can pre-channel your Bonestorm like this, and by pressing Voltaic Mark, you're gonna curse and also release the Bonestorm, and you can do this at the same time. And yeah, pretty much before the hits, before all the hits actually connect with the target, you're already gonna have like the infused shock applied to the enemy, just thanks to the damage extra lightning I've got on my wand. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm using Voltaic Mark and Enfeeble. Not really needed, but I figured that I could use a curse. I'm using Prolonged Duration, Heightened Curse, Cursed Ground, Ritualistic Curse, and Kalisa's Crescendo. Just something that you press like this before a boss fight, and yeah, the boss in this area like this would be cursed and will be doing less damage. And yeah, for clearing, you don't press this at all, because you've got your Blasphemy set up with Temporal Chains, Focused Curse, Magnified Area, and Slow Potency. And yeah, a single target, you're in your Bonestorm setup anyways, so Enfeeble is bound to weapon set 2 for single target. Voltaic Mark can be on both. Blasphemy only on weapon set 1. Convalescence has to be on both weapon sets. Ravenous Swarm, I want it on both weapon sets. And Companion, again, both weapon sets. And Essence Drain, again, weapon set 1. Bonestorm, weapon set 2 for single target. And yeah, I mentioned this in the last video, but don't forget that the actual Impurity aura you get from your Palm of the Dreamer, the spirit sockets socketed in the Impurity aura don't consume any spirit. as you can see. They don't consume any spirit, but you still get the effect. As you can see, for example, on the DPS of the Essence Drain, it actually increases. So, yeah, you can do with it whatever you want. But yeah, that's pretty much all the changes I did to the build. It feels, again, as I said, if I should do a conclusion here, it feels extremely good, extremely efficient, satisfying. It's fast. It is fast enough for me. I'm farming pretty much really hard bosses with it. And yeah, it cuts through everything like butter, and is tanky enough to feel comfy. And just overall a great build. But as I said, it doesn't feel the best for me personally, because this is something that I just decided that I'm gonna throw some currency on. And yeah, that's pretty much how the clear is fixed. I just threw currency on the build, bought this, and yeah, there you go. I mean, clearing fixed, right? But then on the other hand, as I said, you can just use Essence Drain Contagion just fine, and all you would need to do is maybe swap some points. For example, switch these, because this doesn't have an effect on the damage as extra or on the damage over time portion of the Essence Drain, so you could take potentially these points out and put them into, I don't know, this thing. Or yeah, just do some minor tweaks to the build, and you can just play ED Contagion if you really want to, or if you don't have the budget. But yeah, I guess that's it from me for today. Thank you very much for watching again, Exiles, and see you in the next one.